Honeymoon Studio.
And now?
This is the first time we're recording this thing during the day. It's got a completely different feel. Can you feel it?
It does. I can feel it. I can feel, you know what I can feel?
What can you feel?
I can feel the bark of a dog that's about to bark.
Oh,
I can
you're
feel,
anxious about sound
yeah, I can
sabotaging
feel a child that is about to. I actually did, I did something in the day yesterday, an online Zoom performance.
Yeah.
And I had a dog barking down here for 5 minutes before somebody thought to themselves, hey, there's a dog barking while dad is at work. And then my son
So it was
Adam
your
came.
dog.
It was my dog. And then Adam came and he banged on my glass door for about 4 minutes. Towards the end, the last 4 minutes of the show was just Adam going, Dad, you said I could watch from 2. You're late. You're not your word.
Oh my God.
But
wow.
What was great was that I could tell the audience and they understood my pain.
They do. They know what's going on.
In fact, they enjoy seeing you in pain.
Absolutely. It gives their pain meaning.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, what's giving you life this week? So far this week?
Well, I went to buy coffee at a wine farm today.
Is that code? Is it a euphemism?
No, it's not really. Somebody said to me yesterday, are you selling bootlegged moonshine? Are you one of the people selling? Why do they assume that I am selling?
Well, you have that look about you. You're
I?
dodgy. You're like dodgy looking as a person.
Really?
You give off this heavily dodgy vibe. Definitely.
I mean, I could be selling CBD oil because somebody delivered that and I haven't tried it.
I mean, you are, aren't you?
I could be selling non-alcoholic beer.
You know what's giving me life this week so
What?
far? A tweet I saw of Anthony Hopkins losing his shit to like thrash metal. Loved that. I watched the Beastie Boys show documentary thing last night, which I absolutely love. I trampolining with my daughter. It's one of those things that I've been trying to, it's like one of the non-negotiables. Each day I have to spend some time, no matter how short, on the trampoline with Bijou. And I think there's only been 1 or 2 days in the entire lockdown that I've missed. And the other day we were playing a game on the trampoline. There were 3 balls inside of the trampoline with us. And the game went like this. Each of the 3 balls represented a dread disease. One was corona, obviously. And the other 2 was lung cancer and chicken pox. And, we had to run around inside the trampoline, and if the ball touched you, you then had that disease and you died. And then she said we had to choose 2 avatars, like animal avatars. So I chose and then each avatar had to have a superpower. So I chose a hawk that could shoot lasers out of its eyes, and an otter that could shoot sonic underwater fart bombs underwater, which I thought were very cool superpowers to have, especially the hawk with the lasers. You can see that, right? That's
yes,
cool.
Yes.
She chose what did she choose? A kangaroo and a rabbit. And their superpowers were being immune to chicken pox and lung cancer. And I realized I suck at this game because I wasn't paying attention.
You weren't thinking.
I was not paying attention.
Kangaroo inside a trampoline also very clever, although it wouldn't really need the trampoline.
Well, it'd just be like super, like uber steroid kangaroo.
You know what interests me is that she's put chicken pox in the dread disease category.
Yeah. Well, she's been studying a lot about like diseases and their spread in school, like all the plagues, and so I think she was thinking about it from the terms of a disease that once was a dread disease.
Yes. Like those diseases that were pretty much cured, and now because the anti-vaxxers are sending you their conspiracy theory YouTube videos, you're not going to vaccinate against measles anymore, so it will become a dread disease in the future.
Exactly. It's making a comeback.
It's making a comeback. Thanks, anti-vaxxers. Thank you.
Great second album. Difficult second album, but I think they've got it. Also, what I found I love in the trampolining is this game that we play where we find synchronicity and synergy, and that just by bouncing together when we jump in, because normally we jump and we like double bounce each other, or we like go separately or whatever. But we do this game there where we try to stay synchronized and bounce at the same time, and it's so rad. It's so rad that synergy, being in the moment together. There's this feeling of weightlessness. It's really being present, being right there in the now, and how easy it is to fall out of that rhythm, to go to move out of that. Like that is our natural thing, is to fall out of synergy with each other, and it takes kind of concentration and minor little adjustments and being very, very present to being in synergy and in the same time and space and your little bubble with that other person.
I feel like you've introduced a very powerful metaphor into today's episode, Rob.
I think I have. I don't know what it is yet, but
into today's chamber. I feel like you've pumped a metaphor into
Okay, well, now that you've mentioned that, Nick, I sent you an article. I don't think you've read yet. It was Esther Perel.
Why would you assume that, Rob? Why would you assume that?
You're a dodgy CBD oil seller.
I actually have scanned that whole article and read certain paragraphs, as well as listened to the first 4 minutes of the accompanying YouTube video of the Zoom.
I didn't do that. Do that.
Yeah.
So it's the article, Esther Perel, famous relationship counselor, really, really good, author of Mating in Captivity and The State of the Affair. Yeah. Like super, super smart woman, really, really interesting. And she talks about in that article about grief. She's been talking a lot about grief, which is something we've covered in all our episodes as well. And she mentioned David Kessler, a friend of hers, who's the guy who came up with the 5 stages of grief. And his take on what we're experiencing globally right now is this loss of normalcy and the fear of the economic toll, the loss of connection. And now we are not used to this kind of collective grief in the air. And he said the article touches on how we are going through those 5 cycles of grief every day almost. We're kind of cycling through them, swinging through them madly in this current zeitgeist. And they talk about how the ancient art of complaining is actually a wonderful tool to use right now. Kvetching.
Yes.
And I thought that was lovely. They're saying, yeah, gratitude is good, but we've also got to make space for complaints as well. And then you can feel guilty about being complainy, but that's fine, because the guilt means you have a conscience. Yes. Like shame is hiding, guilt is a conscience, conscience. Not a conscience, a conscience. And
so what would you like to kvetch about? Do you want to kvetch on today's show?
I actually don't want to kvetch at all. What I'm building towards is a quote in the article from no less than Dr. Viktor Frankl. No. Sorry, we don't do Viktor Frankl on the show. Viktor Frankl said, it really plays into our tragic optimism, Nick, the human capacity to creatively turn life's negative aspects into something positive or constructive, which is exactly what I've done with Dr. Viktor Frankl. I have been the first person to reference him in this particular episode, and I've taken that and made it into a positive thing. And I think it speaks, the wise words of Viktor Frankl speaks to a common theme that we have been dealing with throughout this podcast. Yes. of sitting in the problem, as Tats and Konzo said, and like playing within the limitations and turning the negative into a positive. Eventually, but being mindful and allowing yourself to grieve and all of those other things that we've talked about. And to that end, I think we have a very interesting guest today. And I think we should, first of all, undress the elephant in the room, because we said in the last episode that our guest today would be Stuart Goldsmith.
Yes.
It isn't. Not because
No.
he isn't coming, it's because he's very, very busy and we have to schedule for him next week. And we need to get an episode out on Monday. In fact, we're recording 2 episodes this week. And so Stuart Goldsmith will likely only be in 2 weeks' time and eventually comes out. But we will be recording with him. However, we did get another Stuart.
We cycled through Stuarts. How many different Stuarts did we have?
5 Stuarts a day in the current zeitgeist and grief thing that we are going through. And we settled on Stuart Taylor, who I think is a very, very, very interesting guest to have right now, in terms of someone who's adapting to the online space with his comedy and is doing shows, but also as a businessman, how he, the moves that he is currently making within this space. In his partnership with Conrad Koch at the moment, and the platform that they are setting up and presenting to artists. So I'm keen to jump into
what I'd
that
like to add on to that is that I didn't fully answer your question earlier, and I realized that what brought
Did I have
me
a
life
question?
today.
I felt like I was just monologuing. I felt like
No, you asked me what brought you life today, and the actual, I just remembered what it was when I went to buy the coffee at the wine farm. Sophie and I communed with a horse for about 10 minutes, 15 minutes. I don't know. The time just stood still as we communed with a horse. And the man we're about to introduce you to spent years at Stellenbosch University communing with various farm animals.
Oh, that's true. That is true. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. He has personal experience.
He does.
As a whatever that sciencey thing that he was studying that puts you in a position where you might have to masturbate a horse.
Yes. A cow? A horse?
Is it a cow? I can't remember. He'll probably fill us in on the details.
Yeah.
I wonder if he's ready.
He's there. I see him.
Is he there? Let's go.
Yeah.
Let's speak to Stuart. Stuart.
Hello, guys. How are you?
I'm
good. How are you guys? I'm fine, thank you.
Hi, Stu.
How are you, Nick?
We didn't say his surname. It is actually Stuart Taylor.
Stuart Taylor.
It is not, in fact, Stuart Broad. It is Stuart Taylor.
Stuart Taylor.
Stuart Broad was number 6 on the list, but I'm glad I made it to number 5.
That was a proper Zoom hello. It's like, hello, hi, hello.
Hi, Rob.
Jeez. How's it, buddy? What are you eating?
I'm eating fritos for lunch.
Fritos.
The sweet chili flavored corn snack.
It disturbs me that you call them fritos. Is that something that you've always done?
I when I'm talking to white people, I turn my eyes into e's. My e's into eyes.
I'm eating the fritos today.
I'm eating the fritos now, Rob. I thought you wouldn't know if I say fritos. Fritos. I said
Fritos. I like fritos. Okay, dude, we mustn't spend too much time talking shit here, because there's important things I want to talk to you about, specifically around doing shows online, like what your experience of that has been, what you've learned, what you are learning, and then also in terms of like the business end of things, what you and Conrad are doing now with the platform and where you're at with that. So
right,
maybe just give us a kind of a summary of where you're at. Oh my God, you've got a board.
Okay, I've got a whiteboard over here.
You've got a whiteboard. Oh my God.
do.
Okay, this is
the show is called, the platform is called Web Shows.
Yeah.
Okay, and then we take money from the people, and we put it into the web shows, and then that goes straight to FNB to pay the bond for the house, and then we can stay out of jail. And that's the process we've gone through. That's pretty much our model. That's our model.
That is, I like it. And for the listeners, Stuart has actually written everything out there, little pictures. We'll take a screen grab of that and we'll share it on the social medias, because it's a graphic. That was very powerful.
This is what I've learned. You're asking me in terms of this whole situation we're in. I don't know when we are only, it's a mad world where gradually we are having our senses reduced as comics. Like we no longer need ears because we don't need to hear an audience anymore. And now this is a podcast. I don't need my eyes either. It's just my mouth. Eventually we're going to become mimes. Often we're going to be mimes on a Zoom meeting. People are going to pay to watch it. It's going to be incredible.
That's actually a very interesting thing that you've picked up on. I think it's about when we are denied the one sense, if it's hearing laughter or if it's seeing the audience or whatever, we then have an opportunity to develop the sense we are then using. And
Correct.
my hope is we're going to develop, we're going to sharpen all those senses. And I think it can, in the end, can make us, I'm just going with the whole Viktor Frankl tragic optimism
nice.
thing that I'm trying to shoehorn into the theme of the show today. But I do believe that. And that's the space I'm in, is very kind of really embracing the limitations and what can we learn from them.
Well, listen, I think that we are all a little bit like open micers floundering around in this thing. The best bit of advice was actually from you, which was to just jump in and give yourself the permission to fail spectacularly. That was your words.
Mm-hmm. That's a quote. And that's a direct quote.
That's a direct Rob van Vieren quote. But what it does mean, it's not about the failing spectacularly. It's about this. It's if I can just do, as opposed to knowing intellectually, then I can. Then that's a magic thing. I can only learn if I've done something for myself. So as much as I watched you online, I watched comics go live, I watched all the big late night talk show hosts do their shows. Until I myself sat over there, I didn't know what kind of online comic I was.
Yes, exactly.
And now I've got a better sense of what kind of online comic I am. And I can then take that and work on it. I had a conversation with another comic. He's going, okay, can I do a second show the same as the first? I'm like, guy, you're asking the wrong questions. The first question is, can I do this online? You don't know that. So let's not plan show number 2, 3, and 4 and how often you're doing these shows. First, let's figure out if this is actually something you can or want to do. So that's pretty much the space that I live in, is that if we all
you have to engage with the medium. You have to first engage with the medium on some level before you can start figuring that out.
Correct. Yeah. And that means playing different roles. So you go, so suddenly I did a thing in my show on Saturday, which occurred to me afterwards. I spoke about being in New York with my wife. Then I go, why on earth wouldn't I at that junction put up the picture of myself and my wife in New York, Statue of Liberty in the background. And now, because it's a beautiful picture of us, we look like a young lesbian couple. I was going through a Joan Armour training phase. And I was looking a little bit more like a sort of a more polished Eileen Warnos. I had that monster vibe about it. And if I then riffed or waxed lyrical about that photo for 5 minutes, that immediacy of where we are is something I can never do in a comedy club. I can never go, and here's a picture of us at the Statue of Liberty. Yeah. Look at that. Look at my hair. So it's about embracing the situation we've been given now and go, how do I completely engage with where I am with a new medium?
Yeah. You've done one show now, and you
I've done one show. I've done one show, planning the second, yes.
Was that from your house, or was it from a different location?
It was from my house, Nick. Did you see the pictures?
It looked very professional. I mean, I thought maybe you'd gone to the Allen Committee School of Broadcast.
No, we took the School of Broadcast to our house, and this is the thing. So for me, the platform stability was going to be of paramount importance. And from a business, I'll tell you the business side, is that we went, where are we going to get the most stable platform so that it just works? And that was where a lot of time and money and effort was spent researching that. The second thing was about, how do I make this look so good, but hide the strings so well that people go, wow, you were doing all that from your house. In truth, yes, I am doing it all from my house, but I've got I'm shooting it on a full-on 4K camera The mic is above my head, which is a full-on studio mic. There are 3 lights all around me. It's staged because I want anyone who's tuning in to go, wow, he's in his house, but it's like a top billing house. It's got to look absolutely beautifully staged. And I say that only because I don't have a beautiful bookcase like yours. I read ebooks, Nick. So I have my bookcase.
I've not read any of these books too.
Point is that you've bought them, Nick. You've bought them, and that is often all that the author cares about.
No, they were all bar mitzvah presents.
That was a big bar mitzvah. I remember it. It was at the City Hall. Shared catering with Riyad Musa's wedding. I remember I went from the one to the other. So yours looks beautiful. You've got, your bookcase looks great, but we did want it to go. And also my thing was I actually in all my rehearsals I had a mic. I had a mic and a mic stand in all my rehearsals.
Yeah.
And when I did the show, in the last final test run, I was just talking into the camera, and Eliska in the other room was going, it actually looks so much more relaxed without the mic. That's when we kind of rigged the mic from the top. So it's very much, I mean, in terms of talking to Tracy Klaas, was saying, Stu, it's amazing what you managed to do in your house. I was like, well, Tracy, just around the corner, there are 2 massive computers running the whole setup. There's a backup laptop with a different hooked up to a different sort of internet system over there, just in case everything falls apart. So for us, the platform is of paramount importance, but also being prepared for every eventuality so that you can just kind of jump in and run with it, as it were.
Yeah. I guess it is so much as we evolve with all of this is troubleshooting as many of the problem areas that there have been, like the stability of the platform is some, you mentioned Alan committee, and we must on as a guest talk about it. The whole thing crashed. I mean, he had to go to change it from. I spoke to him briefly afterwards, and I know he was more incredible.
You know what the problem was?
As far as, because we did the digging, because we don't want anything like that to ever happen. As far as we can understand, it was just a freak internet actually ceased to in the Weinberg of what is this LTE router cost? 6,000.
What is, but I know the function it serves in his train of thought, and I know like the school of technology that it represents. It's the thing that makes the thing go onto the internet.
It's the thingamabob. What we've done is we've got 4 thingamabobs backing up the whatchamacallits, and then inside that there's a whatchamajobby that can hook you up to the interwebs, and it will mean that everyone in the world will always be able to see and hear you.
So you are then you're trying to kind of make it as foolproof as possible. You're concerned with being reliable, a reliable platform and a show on the internet, which is something that is I suppose quite rare at this stage, with how unreliable it can all be and how little we know about it. And you are also concerned with a quality, I suppose the quality of the visual. So you're using a good camera, and you're making sure that even if it is in your lounge, you're lighting your lounge properly for your shot. It's not just on an iPad or a phone or a laptop or whatever.
Correct. And listen, and even if you are on an iPad or a laptop, that is sometimes you can even take that and just up the quality slightly. Do you know what I mean? Even if you, so here's an example. When Kalula.com did their first TV ad, it was all sort of cut out and it had the strings and the aircraft flying across the screen. But that ad, as cheap as it was made to look like it was made on the cheap, when in fact it was a very expensive ad to make. And I think that's the sort of reverse of where we sit, is that you want it to look as natural as possible, but you also want it to be the best possible quality. I was watching a on television, a stand-up comedy show, and someone had messaged me to say that the comic was so bad. And I went and watched and I said, the comic wasn't bad. The production was bad. And because the production is bad, that makes the comic seem like they're not particularly good. When in fact, good tech can make a pretty average performance look so much better and just make the audience go, wow, I can't put my finger on it. It just felt like it was better. I can't put my finger on it. It just felt like it was less funny. When in fact, it's sometimes that you just don't get the tech working spot on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's something interesting there that you talk about, they mustn't see the strings. And I'm following an impulse that is kind of contrary to that. But it is like, I think that the quality of your visual and those are all important factors, and it must look nice. We have especially been exploring that with Corner and Twaki in terms of, how we can play with what you are seeing in that screen and the invention that we can bring in terms of, inserts that we're using as practical kind of props within the shot, flipping the camera, and then all of a sudden you're in a mini set where we can use our Corner and Twaki dolls and we're animating something and playing with, like, Lowe's built these awesome little devices, the zoetrope. You know what a zoetrope is, with the shot where the background moves, so it looks like you're walking, but the background, it's actually the background is moving, you're staying still. He's developed these amazing shots, like a falling shot, like shooting on like a top view on top of your puppet, and the background is moving closer to the image, and so it looks like the character is falling. Little tricks like that. So really playing with the production value inside of your thing. And we also, with lighting, we now want to go explore that more and better. But I think it's a choice in terms of how you want to use the comedy. I think for The Most Amazing Show, it is so meta-textual and it's so kind of self-referential that it works better for the comedy, that we can show them the strings. How the
strings works.
Exactly.
Listen,
like making aware
having
of it.
said that, it's not even that. It's about hiding the obvious things. So people still want to know that I'm at home. So in the writing of the Learner Husband show, when I'm whispering about my wife, you can be damn sure that a pillow is going to fly from the side and hit me in the head, and the voice goes, "Stop talking shit about me." Because they know I'm in my home. Or if my kids came running through when I'm doing a Learner Dad and it's just absolute chaos, those showing of the strings or showing the realness of it it's very endearing. There's a vulnerability in that people will just warm to. I mean, we were having a meeting today with a client and they were talking about how there's good quality comedy on Netflix or on YouTube. And I'm going, that's true. And it's because it's so slickly produced. But what we offer is a realness, a nounness, a vulnerability, but within that, don't be lazy and be lit badly. Make sure I can see you. The two of you look amazing right now because you are lit nicely and I'm sitting in a lounge without good lighting. Just that simple choice is something that is the difference between, I mean, just look at the quality of our three pictures. Your viewers won't, but if you can screen grab this, you go, Rob looks great, Nick looks great, Stu, put a flipping light on yourself. Do you know what I mean? You're darker, you are absorbing light. So,
now you're actually going to go find some light, aren't you? It's bothering you now.
It's bugging me. I'm here.
There's one of your lights. Oh, that's amazing.
This is one of my lights. I'm putting it on. Go on, but don't mind me.
Okay, so obviously you are now offering this service to other acts as well to use, and you guys will manage the back end, the sales aspect of it. I suppose you're developing a database as well.
Correct.
What did you learn from the shows from a performance point of view? How does that feel for you?
From a performance point of view? That is, I'm going to keep saying that we're all open micers and that we've all got our own styles, and whatever I feel worked for me will not possibly work for you. Yeah. One of the greatest things I did learn, and this is a bit of information I think is for anyone out there, is that you have to engage with the camera. Like there's something very special about looking directly at the camera that changes the way you come across in this medium. Like that's many years ago, I used to do Going Away Slowly, and it was one of the things was you always looked into the camera and you did a link. You always spoke into the camera doing a link. And the closest that explanation of what the show felt like or the drive was, I'm going to do a 1 hour link. Let's do a link into camera. Occasionally I look out because I need to look out, but then I come back and I look straight into the camera. It's our nature to look at the person on the screen. And as soon as you change your eye line, you can lose your audience members immediately. So making sure that the light is good so that there's a sparkle in your eye and you can engage with the audience over there. So that's like the new mic technique is eye technique.
Yeah.
So hold your mic like that. Hold your mic so we can hear you. Use your eyes so we can see you. Like that's the only practical piece of advice I would give to anyone. Outside of that,
which is actually quite interesting because obviously when you have a camera, it makes that a lot easier. We often talk about this weird thing of looking into the pinhole camera on your laptop, and then the person below is kind of blurred, and there's this weird kind of thing.
No, absolutely. The camera did make it a lot easier. And I had a monitor. I mean, so I had my camera in front of me and I had a monitor to the bottom left because I wanted to engage with the comments from time to time and see where people were from. And we did all sorts of things. We did little polls and we asked all sorts of questions and engaged with those questions from time to time. That was also, we got really good feedback on that. But it's a start, like literally, I just feel like we're all developing our own style. Some people are going to have the ability to tell jokes with setup lines and punchlines. Some people are going to become a lot more physical and visual. And it's about using that camera. So can you get up close and do a punchline with your eyes right there? And how do you play your body with the camera that you're given? So me, I sort of had a mid shot so that I could lean further back onto my chair when I was doing my setups and more relaxed, and then get a little bit closer and whisper a secret over here. So it was very much about how do I play the space. I've only got one camera, but I can still use depth. And so that those are kind of, it's exciting because it feels like those early days at the armchair theater where you watched other people and you went, why did he get a laugh there? Why did that work? And that's what this feels like to me, is to watch and question. But again, it's not enough to know it intellectually. Much like stand-up, this is going to rely on your stage time. We always said there's no substitute for stage time, and I think in this new world there's going to be no substitute for online time. You guys are doing very well by setting up this as a regular platform, because this is like your Timbuktu. This is your armchair theater. This is your Cape Town Comedy Club. And then you go and you play the Baxter with your show, or you go and you play the Teatro with your show. But you are still here working that muscle regularly. And that's what people are going to have to do.
How are you finding doing corporate things with people on Zoom calls and in the home office and that whole scene? Again,
it's very intimidating. I mean, the whole thing is quite scary, and it's possibly making me put in a lot more effort than I might have put in before. I mean, you do a gig. We know how to do gigs, man. I'll play that thing when I get there. I'll charm the person who does the booking so that my booking is secured for next year. That's my most important thing. Then I just go and you find the laughers and you find we've done that literally for 20 years. We've been doing that. Now, I feel like, you know, those early days when I used to go to armchair theater, you'd be there in the morning, you'd be writing, you'd be making your notes, and you'd rehearse your lines, and you'd look in the mirror and try it out. I think that's where I am now. But it also, I think that you can self-correct a lot quicker. You can self-direct in a much easier way. We've got access to things, to tech we didn't have before. So armchair theater, we didn't have a visual. I mean, there was no video cameras. We do an audio recording back in the day. Now I've actually got a video recording of what the audience saw, what the actual experience was. I go through that with a fine-tooth comb. You can literally up the quality of your performance tenfold the next time you do it, if you're willing to put in the work. So, so from a corporate perspective, I mean, that's an interesting thing. We're very excited, but we're very excited from a business side in terms of what the platform can do and how we're marketing the platform, because we do believe that our business model is not going to purely be about artists doing shows. We'd love that. That would be the channel. You'd have comedy Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday afternoon. You've got live unplugged music sessions or whatever the case may be. That's something we'd like to arrange on the platform, but the platform also has to work in this crazy new world, and it's poised to. I was joking. I was saying to Grant, we're the new CTICC, man. Someone's saying, "Yo, we want to do a gig for 5,000 people." I'm like, "Well, I mean, cool. Come and speak to me. We can put 5,000 of your clients onto a thing and go. Here's a magician from the States, and here's your MC is sitting in Dubai, and your comedians are sitting in the UK and Australia, and it's the world is available online now."
Yeah, it's that's something that has just been resonating with me so much over the last 2 weeks. Is just like, wow, the scope, the potential in this space is unbelievable. Actually, it's a revolution. We're at the start of it, and rather try and like swim with the wave and see where it takes you than just like stick your head in the sand and like hope it passes and goes back to normal,
to where it was. And I won't lie, I mean, and I have no judgment for anyone who's feeling that way right now, because you know what, I think coming online and taking the plunge to doing what you guys did before I did, it's almost like quitting smoking. Someone can tell you, you must do it, you must do it, you must do it. Until the moment you decide you are going to do it, you will not be ready. And I've spoken to so many people. I mean, I've been fielding calls all week long since Friday, where people going, explain how, and they just want to know why.
It's exactly.
And I called you how many times?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And you go,
I mean,
it's
I had
because
that in the first couple of weeks, just so many people, because people, they want to know, but you're scared, and as you say, until you do it, you don't know.
Yes.
You don't know.
And then
my message from the start was always like, first grieve, like this is fucked.
Yes.
Everything's fucked. Take a moment to breathe and acknowledge what you're going through, and then just start. Just get in there and start, and you will see. You will see.
Yes, and sometimes, and also, I think part of it is that more often than not, we're watching our colleagues going live. They're going live on WhatsApp, on Instagram. They're going live on Facebook, and there's not necessarily a structure to going live because no one is paying for it. And then when they watch you do your actual show, there's an energy that changes. There's a performance that gets turned on, and that is and even from a personal perspective, you go, ooh, now this really does have potential. So I think that's like quite an important thing in terms of your mental shift.
Yeah. So for you, as an artist going forward now outside of the business, how do you see what you're putting out evolving? Like at the moment, the first one was pretty much a stand-up show and it's stand-up material, but you already talked about minor shifts in performance. Where do you see yourself going, and what avenues are you going to explore as far as making shows is concerned?
Well, I think there are going to be two factors or two streams I want to focus on. Number one, I want to try and do a weekly live-ish. Actually, no, not live-ish. It will be live, but we'll live stream it through my YouTube channel. But a weekly live show, which is, and we've been working on the formula for a while now, but we haven't found the exact sort of hook for it. We haven't found the exact thing that I can do an elevator pitch and say, the show is this. But I think that's an important thing for me to do, simply from the perspective of, it'll be my gym. It'll be the thing the place I go to lift weights and focus, so that I never ever get distracted, and the pinhole feels like home. So that's the one thing from a performance perspective, as I want to create that as a regular thing for myself. But then secondly,
will you be monetizing that?
No,
not at all.
No. Not I won't monetize it. I won't monetize it through the public. I'll monetize that through sponsorship, or not all.
Okay.
I would look to monetize that through sponsorship, and sell corporate branding, etc., etc. That
Right.
And also because people are not paying for it, I think you could monetize it quite nicely, and you could use it as product placement, etc., etc. Once you get the right amount of eyeballs. So yes, that would be monetized, and I think the consistency on that is how you get to monetize it eventually. Mm-hmm. From a show performance perspective, I think that there's very definitely, what is interesting is I've done so many solo shows. And if the world is suddenly my oyster, then in the scope of the world, a 0.001% of the world has watched me. You know, I did one show which ran for 3 weeks at the Roxy Review Bar, and that 1 hour of show got shelved and never done again. You go, oh wow, okay, go find the stories, go find what works over there, go modify the bits and pieces over there. So I don't think I'm going to be lacking for content once I find how to deliver that content online. I'm going to try and do the shows on a fairly regular basis and just develop an audience, not only in this country but across the world. And also, one of the other things myself and Conrad was talking about was the idea of doing ensemble shows. There's no reason, if our platform can take 6 people, 6 performers as it were, why are we not doing ensemble shows? And then the next step is, I had a woman buy tickets. A woman bought 20 tickets for my show, and she's in Australia. She asked, I really just want to support you. I've never met the woman before, but she said, I really want to support South African because she's from South Africa. And then she sent those 20 tickets to her family back home in South Africa. And it was quite simply because she was going to be fast asleep by the time I was doing my show. It was early hours of the morning. So I go, oh shit, well, that just means I've got to do a show at 10 in the morning, if that's your 8 o'clock at night, and create a Facebook group which is just for Australia, New Zealand, and the surrounding areas. Suddenly we can start doing ensemble shows or our own shows, and not even have people in this country know that we're doing those shows, because you're just doing it in a completely different time zone with a dollar amount attached to it. I mean, I spoke to Martin Evans yesterday, and he was talking about, explaining to an American that I just want $2 from you. They just kind of go, what? That makes no sense to them that you'd want that. Like, what are you going to do with that? That seems like too little money to be paying for something of quality. Whereas if you say, listen, the thing is going to be £5, a South African, when they convert to rands, go, that's too much. You know, that doesn't have the production quality attached to a brand. Suddenly you can start going, well, I'm doing a £5 show in the UK, and I'm doing a $10 show in Australia, and we have a $5 show in the States, and I'm doing a 60 Rand show in South Africa, 50 Rand show in South Africa. So that's really exciting when you start going, I can be, and this was always, funny enough, this was my plan in 2020, and I'd had so much of it was already cast in stone from the European summer, June, July, August. I was going to spend a lot of time in Europe. I was going to spend a lot of time in the UK, and that was planned. But the cost was incredible. I mean, when it comes to visas, etc., literally, my flights are no longer an issue. Shitty Airbnbs I don't need to stay in, and I don't need to have visas. It's amazing. We can literally live in the world. Yeah, and that was one of the coolest things on Friday night. I often shower before I go on stage. Like, if I've been in the venue for all day long, I'll have my kit with me, and I'll go for a shower, and I have a shower before I go, like an hour before I go on stage, hour before showtime, I go for a shower. To go for a shower in my own shower 1 hour before, in my own room, and then just sit in my room and go, I'm like, this is the time. If I wasn't at the venue, I'd be stressing because where am I going to park? Is Benny gonna get the light cue right? We didn't plan the lights, Benny. You're gonna miss that cue. It's crazy. It's an amazing, and that is my big thing. It's just embrace what we've been given. The world can work at such a fast pace. Friday, I decided I'm going to do a show. The Saturday, Nick, I watched your show. And the Sunday, I had a platform. And the Monday, I opened bookings. And the Tuesday, we started marketing. And the Wednesday, I was cucking off. And the Thursday, I was excited. And the Friday, at 9 o'clock, I walked in front of a couple of hundred people around the world and I did a show. You go, how is that possible? You can't even open bookings with some of our ticketing agencies in that shorter time.
I know. There's no rules. There are no rules.
None.
There are no experts. It's just like access.
And you know what is the cool thing? Is like the thing I would encourage people who are coming into it. Go and find Rob's rules and then break Rob's rules.
Exactly.
And so everything I'm saying, if these are going to be the rules governing my style, then you go and you break all of my rules.
It's something I keep reminding myself is as soon as I feel like I've figured it out or I've got the way that works, like push it, work against that, keep exploring because as you say, things are moving so fast. It's such a disruptive space right now. That's the nature of it, is we bouncing around from one idea to the other. And I'd like to stick with just one way of doing things now because you think you've figured it out is ludicrous.
Yes.
Yeah, it's funny that you should say how fast things were moving. I was speaking to Bevan this morning, and I know he spoke to you about using the platform for the Gary the Tooth Fairy show. And I mean, we spoke on Monday morning. He was like, I'm so depressed. I don't know what to do. The industry's closed down. I was like, how many fans on your Gary the Tooth Fairy page? He hasn't done it in 10 years. The last time he did it was when we did a live show in 2010. And the last time the commercials flighted, I think, was around that time as well. But he was like, I've got 150,000 fans. I was like, dude, we write a show. And then from that day, he spent like 4 hours on the phone speaking to you and speaking to all sorts of people. Last night, I sent him the first 10 minutes of the script. This morning, he's like now trying stuff out. And like, by Friday, I'll have the first draft done. He'll start rehearsing it in his garage. We'll start sending videos and doing Zoom rehearsals and shit like that. It's incredible.
It is amazing. You know what? And shame, my poor kids. I was saying, Liska and myself have been saying to each other, we have never been this busy.
Yeah.
We literally, I wake up in the morning, I do not have any free time. And it's once I decided I'm going to, the first couple of weeks of the lockdown, I was lovely. Spent many hours meditating, did some yoga, did a nice workout, power pump workout in the morning. I've not gymmed. I'm wearing my running shoes. I literally managed to walk the dog for half an hour this morning. That's it. I've been in back-to-back meetings. When I finish this, I've got to finish shooting a thing for one company. Then I've got to finish a quote for another. It's crazy. It's incredible how quickly it's growing. And as soon as we decided to stake our claim and really say, okay, I'm going to embrace where we are now. If you can do that, you'll find I think it's a case of then going with the flow as opposed to trying to swim back to shore when these waves are taking us into the ocean and into the world. Yeah, exciting times, guys. And you guys are early adopters, man. Power to you. Like really, I'm blown away by how quickly you guys decided that we're gonna jump. We're gonna do it.
I think Skulk was the first. Skulk did his first show, and both Nick and I, we didn't even speak to each other about it, but we both were like, "What's Skulk doing?" What is that?
Yes.
And then I know we phoned him independently of each other. I think on the same afternoon because I was speaking to Skulk and he was like, "I've just had this discussion with Nick," and then you're like, "Okay, so and then just try it."
You know what's going to be interesting? These interviews we do with people like Joe, Emilio, and you get asked that question, hey, do you remember your first gig at where was it? Oh, the Armchair, it was 2001. And now it's like, hey, do you remember actually last night was like, what was my first gig online of this lockdown? And I remembered, it was the synagogue, and they had 300 Jews on the Zoom platform, and I didn't know what I was doing. I had the script here on my laptop, and then my wife shouting from next door, "You must look at everybody's, there's pictures, Nick, all over. You can see all of them. Half of them are asleep." And they say, "How did I put this on?" And we'll be reminiscing about these, the first
Totally.
gigs.
What was yours, Stu? Do you remember? What was your first online gig?
Well, I mean, literally, it was my first online proper gig was this one. I haven't
The show.
been doing
You
the
hadn't done
show.
anything prior to that.
Dude,
Not even an Insta Live or nothing.
I mean, besides being interviewed by other people, but I wasn't doing anything. I wasn't doing anything live. I literally, guys, I'm not joking when I say I spent my days meditating, waiting for an answer.
Oh, I remember, but for you, it was also quite a choice. It was you and Alan as well. Both were like, I'm not doing anything. I'm not going to put anything out there.
And how funny that both of us should at the same time then start having the same exploratory meetings. Because it's while you say this, you spoke to Skulk. My call to Skulk was like, listen, the thing is like, I was just speaking to Alan this morning.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And it was a case of, I mean, I was completely vehemently opposed. The way I framed it, and I have a different understanding of what I was saying, but I still understood it, and I still believe it to be true. I said there were going to be 3 types of comics who emerge from this new world we're in. The first, who are not going to evolve, who are going to stay where they are, waiting for us to go back to where we were. That's the first group. The second group are the ones who are going to take exactly what they do and do it online. And that for me is like a fish trying to jump out onto the bank and trying to run. And I'm like, yeah, but you've still got your gills, you've still got you haven't evolved to the space. And the third type are the ones who are going to find a new way of using this. And so I was vehemently opposed to doing stand-up. It's like, you can't do stand-up in this space.
Yeah.
But having said that, that's not actually true. You can do stand-up. You just got to find your style of doing stand-up.
Yeah.
That's it. It's like someone saying, oh, you can't do a one-liner show for an hour. Really? But it's been done. It's been done. It's not a strange thing. It has been done. But intellectually, you go, oh no, but you haven't graduated into the long form. So for us, I can go, oh, you haven't graduated into a story format. You've got to tell more stories. Yeah, that might work for you. It might work for someone else. But whatever is true in terms of what I'm saying, the opposite might be true as well. You've got to find your persona online. But yeah, to answer your question, I was vehemently opposed and had taken like a sort of hard stance that I'm not doing this. It's nothing. I'm not going to involve.
You know what it was? You were very much like, I just need to see what's happening here first, and then decide. And I think like as what this conversation has brought up is how that happened took a lot quicker than you imagined it would, because everything happens so quick. It was like 3 days, and you were like, oh, now you'd seen it. You're like, oh, okay.
Yes.
This is the vibe.
And sometimes it's it could literally be. I've often found the pivotal moments in my life come from some random comment. I quit smoking because of like one comment Loyiso Gola made back in October of whatever 2009. And in January of 2010, I was like, cool, I'm done. Just because of one silly comment he made to me. There was a comment about Nick's show. There was 2. Actually, funny enough, Loy was involved again. I had a long chat with Loy, and he said the one thing he hopes. I said, Loy, what do you want to take out of this lockdown? He said, Stu, I'm going to be more flexible. I'm going to leave here. We're too structured in our ways, man. We're too set in saying this is how things have to be. And I hope I leave this going. I'm just going to be lighter on my feet and ready to just bob and weave and go with the flow a little bit more, and just be a bit more flexible. And that stuck with me for a little bit. And then a couple of days later, Iliska had seen a Facebook post that a friend had posted about your show, Nick. She'd said, I watched Nick's show. It was so much fun, and I'm glad to see he's doing another one this coming week. And she explained what the family did. She said, it was like date night. Myself and my husband, we popped some popcorn and we watched it. It was such a new experience. It's a new way of being entertained. And there was a moment when the penny dropped in terms of going, no, dude, you combine that with the flexibility. It means that if a member of the public is saying, that's what we do now, we find that acceptable, how the hell are you not on that train? And that was the most amazing thing in terms of the feedback on Friday last week, was just how much people loved interacting, how much they loved, and the comments after. We did a silly thing where they could do a selfie with me. So I was there and pointing, and then they could stick their face by the thing and take photos. And wherever they posted that on Facebook, there'd be a comment. Someone would ask, how was the show? How did it feel, or whatever? And they were so complimentary in those comments. They'd be like, it's so much fun. It's so different. Different is the word that they use. They won't use the word strange or weird or odd. For them, it is a different way of consuming the entertainment, but they still consider it to be a very much a fun way of doing it. And they're open to it. They're open to it.
They need it. People need it.
They're hungry.
Yeah, what these shows
connection.
do, it's the connection. The shows give them a sense of community more than anything else. To be part of an audience means you are part of a community of like-minded people who have chosen to come and share in this art, this expression of, the view of the world or culture or whatever it is. And
it is, you know what is funny? I saw it with your show as well, Nick, and we saw it in my show, where suddenly a group of people will start their own conversation in the chat. So I was talking about ShopRite. I did a gag about ShopRite in Southfield. And someone went, in Southfield, you can still get anything. Like, they're still selling cigarettes and alcohol in Southfield. Man, did this set people off. But then Americans were going, what is ShopRite? Like, because they've got a ShopRite, but to them a ShopRite is a pick and pay. It's a very midline thing. And then that went off in its own little vibe. But it was an amazing little thing where suddenly you're talking to people who are not people you interact with normally, but suddenly you're seeing people. It's like, and that's one of the greatest things we've been deprived of.
It's also interesting that on that chat circle, it's like a little show that's happening within the show.
Yeah.
And it's fun for them. It's fun for them to go off on a tangent with each other, and also for the other people watching you and watching the conversation. It's also fun for them. It just deepens that experience. And it's again that thing of your impulse would be, oh God, they're not concentrating on what I'm saying. They shouldn't be doing that. No. It's like, no, it's a gift. It's part of what makes this medium special. So that's the thing of don't think of it as this is a direct transposition of the live experience. It's not. It's different.
But
it's a different thing.
Even then, take a comedy club. If not as a performer, because we hate it as performers, but punters in the audience, when you do a gag. So I'm doing a gag about buying a loose nappy. There's someone in the audience goes, oh man, that blah, 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 blah. And now they share that moment about whoever they knew who sells loose nappies. That people are then banging into the comments, and that becomes that additional expression of the person you're sitting next to, who you're now commenting to about what just happened on stage. And in that moment, they don't miss the next gag. They just, in fact, adding on to it in their own way.
What's interesting is Rob and I have been talking about this idea of you can't play the laughs. You got to be focused on the segues and really and jumping onto solid segues. What I also noticed is you still have to give them space to laugh.
Yes.
And because you get that in the videos afterwards, you see people laughing, but you've already moved on because we're so used to, if I didn't get a big laugh, I need to move on to my next thought.
Yeah. You need to, it's a little filler that you need to put in there. It's the start of the sentence, but by the time they finish laughing, you haven't given away any essential information.
It's a Mark Lottering that you have to put in.
Exactly, yeah. But
Yes.
it's the trick is to not make it look
Or
like you're
John
waiting
Blissmas
for a laugh.
after his punchline.
Yeah.
Yes. John is amazing about that, because he hits his punchline, and especially if it's particularly if it's a particularly heavy jab, he always goes and then he
Yes.
continues, because he knows this is going to take a while for the laugh to ripple, or if he deems the audience to be too dumb to catch the joke, immediately he'll check in an extra
Yeah, but the thing is, you can't do an or a so. It needs to be something else that makes it look more like you are just carrying on with your conversation.
Yes.
It's not, in no ways can it look like you're waiting for the laugh, because as soon as it looks like that, that's when it's cringe.
That's the beauty of it. So I mean, I was talking to Conrad, who's literally, if I'm at if in a linear scale, if I'm over here, Conrad is here when it comes to what he'd like to do with the production. So he's got 3 different cameras and all sorts of things that can come up on screen, and then there's a if you've got 2 walls and one is your set and one is your green screen, you can do. So he really wants to go off in those kind of spaces, which is amazing, because I think for me, as I say, that's the nth degree of it. But if I can get closer to that, so that I find the can sometimes be finding a picture.
Exactly.
In fact, let me find the picture. You
As
guys
long as you're doing something,
laugh amongst yourselves.
Yeah,
Yes.
totally.
Is there a bunny? Let me just get the bunny for you. Hang on.
Yes.
Stu, thanks so much for joining us, man. I think we could do a part 2 of this, definitely. And we probably should in about 3 weeks' time, when everything's changed again.
Yes. Listen, we might have very different conversations.
Yeah.
But I'm excited. I'm very excited about where we can go, what we can do. It's very, very exciting times, man.
What I also want to just acknowledge you for is, your commitment to making a difference for the comedian community, and uplifting and empowering comics, and your platform is part of that, and it's prior to that, and it's prior to lockdown, and that is a beautiful thing. Thank you, Stuart Taylor.
Thank you very much, Nick Rabinowitz. Thank you, guys. Much appreciated.
Thanks, Stu. Ah, that was rad. That's so rad. What a rad. That just flew, eh?
That was lovely fun. That was lovely.
Thanks, buddy. Thanks so much.
Well, listen, so the platform is there. It's up and running. In fact, Nick, I might...
What platform is it? Sorry, I got knocked off by my Wi-Fi while you were talking about that.
No, we've purchased the Webinar Jam platform, but what we're trying to do is we're trying to create a slightly more user-friendly, tailored interface to it. And also we're trying to cater very much to that older market who only know how to buy tickets at CompuTicket. And so this thing of ending up in a waiting room and having to not click and then do click, we're trying to ease and facilitate that user experience. And so that's kind of a big part of the offering, along with certain tech offerings where we do try and make it look as good as possible, so that people go, "Sheesh, this is something amazing."
I think that was a huge thing for
but there's
Alan's
actually something
shows.
we do.
Was that?
No, I was going to say to Nick, there's actually something we're going to do next week, Thursday, where we possibly use the platform. So
cool.
That's exciting. But yes, it is. I mean, for us, it's we don't revel in the crazy situation that happened to Nick. To Alan. But there were certain things where I was just like, I'm like, why were you lit so badly, guy? Why did they? The sound is amazing because they are amazing sound people. That is without a doubt. The quality and the expertise from a sound perspective shines through. Like in the midst of anything and everything, Alan sounded incredible. And it's because Akadem are really great at sound. It's what they do. But
not so much
from a visual perspective, you go, why are you performing in the corner of a room? Or why is there a plug visible in your shot?
Yes,
why
Bevan
is
had a
there-
lot of similar
so-
things to say about that.
Yeah, so just from aesthetically, you need someone who, and this is where our strength comes with Grant, where you go, Grant has shot so many of these shows across the board, be them reality shows, or be it television shows, or be it freaking documentaries for the BBC. He knows what is appealing to a viewer. And so and it becomes a contentious issue for us. Come on, leave the cable. They want to see the cable. It's like, hide the fucking cable. Just make it look like it's top billing shoot here, please. Because, for as important as what the performance is for me. So that's and that I think was kind of lacking on that.
Does it have a name, Stu?
But it's learning curves. What our thing?
Yeah.
It's called web shows.
Web shows.
Webshows.co.za. There's no website up, but we did register the name yesterday.
It's
So
coming.
the company's up and running. The website should be up and running. But that's amazing thing. So you're like, by the end of the week, the website will be up. And we've booked 1 or 2 people to do shows so far. And Conrad's obviously is coming up. And then there's 1 or 2 corporate things we're working on as well. So it's exciting.
Like a man.
Exciting times.
Cool, bro. Thanks.
Cool.
We'll
Lovely,
wrap up
lovely.
here.
I'll send Marcus the voice note.
Thank you so much, Stu. Lots of love to all you guys.
Just you.
Bye.
Yeah, look after yourselves, boys. Chat soon.
You too,
Cheers,
man. Bye.
Cheers, bye.
There we go. Should we wrap it up?
Yep. Are you still rolling?
I'm still rolling.
Okay.
I'm still rolling. So that was Stuart Taylor. Very excited. Exciting times.
Yeah. The
Yeah.
moment you take the plunge, the moment you give up resisting what is, all sorts of things can open up.
Oh, the metaphors.
What
There's
was
so
the
many
metaphor
metaphors.
you introduced at the beginning? I feel like we could bookend it with that metaphor. I don't know what it was.
It was jumping on the trampoline was the one, the finding the synchronicity in the jumps.
Yes.
That's something that is resonating with me. And then there was the Viktor Frankl. My favorite game now in my whole life is wondering, by the time we've recorded an episode, wondering what the title is going to be. What was where in here, or what we just said was the title. That's my favorite game. Okay, I have to go. I've got to write a thing now. I've got to write 3 things.
You should go and do that, Rob.
I'm gonna. What are you gonna do? You're going back to the children.
Yeah, I've been neglecting the children. I'm going to go and see how much trouble I'm in. And then I'm going to prepare for a cooking show, actually.
Oh, nice. Yeah, the girls are out at the shops now, so I'm going to squeeze as much work as I can in the next little while. And then
Squeeze it in. Squeeze it into your chamber.
I'm gonna. And then be present with the family. And then later tonight, I did that thing last night where I was working late at night when everyone was asleep.
Yes.
Oh. I love you, man.
I love you too, Rob. Look into my eyes when you say that.
Oh, I am.
There we go.
Is it?
It's all about the camera, but I want a medium shot of you. Grant wouldn't approve of that shot.
There we go.
I want a shot that feels like you're on top billing, telling me that you love me.
I do love you, but it's not top billing. Top billing is dead.
That's the name of the episode.
Cheers, bro. Chat to you later.
Bye. Okay.
Bye.
Yeah. Makes the smoke move. Density, the pig's music makes the smoke move.